Hi, I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. Personal bankruptcy isn't a topic that's really relevant to most of us until it is. The number of people filing for bankruptcy over the last 20 years ranges from a low of 374,000 people a year in 1922 to a high of over 2 million in 2005. The top reasons that cause people to declare bankruptcy are a little bit different than what I expected. Number one reason is job loss. Number two are medical bills. Number three, an unaffordable mortgage. Number four, overspending, which includes credit cards. And number five is helping other family members with financial assistance. Student debt accounts for only 0.1% of all the reasons to declare bankruptcy. But I think this is in large part because of federal restrictions on using bankruptcy to avoid repaying education loans. So while much of the information is available about the technical aspects of avoiding bankruptcy and the steps to take when filing for bankruptcy, there isn't much written about the emotional cost. Bankruptcy can be emotionally as well as financially devastating. It can evoke pretty difficult emotions, not only for those going through the bankruptcy, but for their family, their friends, employers, co-workers. The ripple effect can affect everyone in the person's sphere. So what are the common feelings? Well, depression, shame, embarrassment, guilt, grief, anxiety, hurt, hopelessness, insecurity, numbness, and apathy are some emotions that come to mind, and I'll bet that's not the full list. I think it's obvious that these emotions can be really overwhelming and can be severely impactful to a person's career, their relationships, and their physical and mental health. People who file for bankruptcy often believe they have let themselves, their family, and their friends down. They may feel like a failure and believe that they are 100% responsible for their financial circumstances. They may worry about their financial future, their ability to pay their bills, their ability to rebuild their credit. They can feel really helpless and overwhelmed to the point they can have trouble sleeping, eating, and concentrating. So the first sign that you are in serious financial peril is if you are technically insolvent. What does that mean? That means if you sold everything you owned, the proceeds from selling everything would not be enough to pay off your debts. According to a May 27, 2021 podcast by David Steen, who's host of Money for the Rest of Us, the Congressional Budget Office, usually referred to as the CBO, reports that 25% of Americans are technically insolvent, even though most have not filed for bankruptcy. Even if the shame of filing for bankruptcy is so overwhelming that it's not an emotional option for you, if you're insolvent and struggling to pay your debts, it's important to take steps early, long before bankruptcy becomes an unavoidable consideration. The first would be coming to terms with the deeply rooted money scripts that you have around what it means to declare bankruptcy and the consequences. We know that all money scripts are partial truths, so exploring those beliefs. When did they first appear? What were the circumstances around when they appeared and the context of that particular era can help to begin to bring some objectivity to what it means to be insolvent or file for bankruptcy. There are definitely resources available to help you cope with the emotional challenges of being insolvent. The first step is to get into credit counseling. Now, I think just about every major city, which Rapid City is a major city by that definition, has credit counseling available. And this is really a necessary step that you've got to take if you eventually do go into file for bankruptcy, because it is required. So do that early. It oftentimes brings up some information that people didn't know that were options. Now, to deal with the emotional fallout, engaging a therapist, especially a financial therapist, can be really helpful. And if that's not available or affordable, you might be able to find a support group. So ultimately, if your path leads to filing for bankruptcy, that can remove some of the financial pressure that you're facing. It can free up some of your income so you can pay your rent or mortgage utilities and other basic necessities more easily. Essentially, the purpose of declaring bankruptcy is to serve as a fresh start if you're overwhelmed by your debt. Whether you file for bankruptcy or not, dealing with the insolvency can be a hugely difficult experience. So it's important to remember that with time and effort, you can recover emotionally and rebuild your financial future. Thanks for joining me.